Hello, and welcome back to Finding New Films Self Tapes. Today is Friday, June the 2nd, and I am wearing a Sherpa hoodie for no reason. Yeah, uh, we're here to talk about a really beautiful movie today, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, from 2019. This is a French film. My name's Hunter Harris, by the way. Didn't say that. I'm the host of the show. Welcome to the solo show, the Monday show. Didn't say that off the top. Kind of got right into it. But yeah, this is a French film set way back. It was really well done. There's a lot of movies that came out or have come out that are set in the 1700s and 1600s, and they really glorify the Victorian era and stuff like that, and those doily, very pritzy eras. Is that a word? Pritzy? Glitzy, I think is what I'm used. I think, yeah, glitzy is what I'm thinking of, not pritzy. They used like a lot of glitz and glamour and to show off that period, and like this is an interesting step away from that. This is kind of like a before they made it type of movie, which was really interesting because I've never really seen this era approached in this way. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about that today, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on it. But first, I'm going to run through the credits really quickly, and then I'm gonna read the plot synopsis in case some of you haven't seen this movie and don't care to and just want to hear me talk about it. Because I know that's a thing. I found out pretty recently that was a thing. But I'm glad to serve you. But yeah, so this is the credits, and then the plot, and then I'll do the themes, and then I will do my thoughts. So here we go. So for the plot, or no, wait. For the credits, Portrait of a Lady on Fire came out in 2019, and I'm pretty sure it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, where it won Best Screenplay. That was prominently at the front of the movie. I'm assuming it being a French film, it takes winning Best Screenplay very seriously, because it is so much harder for foreign language films. Even though Cannes is a French festival, it is harder for them to win. So it must be really cool for them to take pride in winning like the hometown, competition that has been pretty much taken over by Hollywood. Nevertheless, this film was distributed by Neon Pictures, which is a very prominent indie film studio in America. It was also brought to us by MK2. I'm not really aware of their level of involvement on this, but runtime on this movie was 122 minutes, so right over 2 hours. The writer and director on this film was Céline Sciamma. The editor of this film is Julien Lacheret. Music was done by Jean-Baptiste Delobier and Arthur Simonini. The camera was done by Claire Mathon. And the stars of the film were Noémie Merlan, Adèle Haenel, I think I said that right, I'm sorry if I didn't, and Luana Bajrami. If I mispronounced any of your names, I apologize. But yeah, those were the prominent stars of the film and the prominent people who worked on the film. And shout out to the rest of the crew, just because everybody made it work. Anyways, on to the plot. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. is as follows. At the end of the 18th century, Marianne, a painter, is teaching an art class in France. One of her female students asks about a painting of hers, which Marianne calls Portrait de la jeune fille en feu, meaning a portrait of a lady on fire. Years previously, Marianne arrives on a distant island in Brittany. She has been commissioned to paint a portrait of a young woman of the gentry named Héloise, who is to be married off to a Milanese nobleman. Marianne is informed by Héloise's mother, the Countess, that she has previously refused to pose for portraits as she does not want to be married. She had been living in a convent before the suicide of her older sister necessitated her return and betrothal. Marianne acts as Héloise's hired companion to be able to paint her in secret and accompanies her on her daily walks along the rugged coastline to memorize Héloise's features. Marianne finishes the portrait and finds herself unable to betray Héloise's trust and reveals her true reason for arriving. After Héloise criticizes the painting, which does not seem to portray her true nature, Marianne destroys the work. After seeing the destroyed work, Marianne explains her actions to the Countess by saying that she can create a better painting. As the Countess is ready to fire Marianne, Héloise says that she will pose for Marianne. The Countess is shocked to hear this and gives Marianne 5 days to complete the new portrait while she is away on the mainland. Marianne is haunted throughout the house by visions of Héloise in a wedding dress. One evening, they read the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, and debate the true reason of why Orpheus turns around to look at his wife, causing her to be returned to the underworld. Later, the two go to a bonfire gathering where women sing during Héloise's dress briefly catches fire. The next day, Marianne and Héloise share their first kiss and have sex later that night. The pair spend the next few days together, during which their sexual relationship grows stronger, and they help Sophie, the housemaid who is pregnant, to get an abortion. While their affair is about to be cut short by the ensuing return of the Countess, Marianne sketches a drawing of Héloise to remember her by, and Héloise asks Marianne to draw a nude sketch of her on page 28 of her book. The Countess approves of the now completed portrait, and the next morning Marianne bids farewell as she is about to leave the house. She hears Héloise say, "Turn around." She turns around and sees Héloise in her wedding dress. In the present, Marianne reveals that she saw Héloise 2 more times. The first was in the form of a portrait in an art exhibit, in which Héloise and a child beside her is portrayed holding a book and serendipitously revealing the edge of the page 28. The second time was at a concert in Milan, where she notices Héloise among the patrons seated across the balcony in the theater from her. Unobserved, Marianne watches as Héloise is seen crying and smiling while listening to the orchestra play Presto from Summer in Vivaldi's Four Seasons, the music that Marianne had played for her on a harpsichord years before. And that was Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I'll get into my thoughts on this movie in just a minute. We are going to read some themes really quickly. I need to get my list of themes up. I will get into this movie heavily, so wait on that. But that was Portrait of a Lady on Fire, in a very direct sense. That was basically what happened. So I'm just going to read some themes that I noticed throughout the movie. So here we go. I have video simplicity. I have change versus tradition. I have coming of age. Sorry. I have convention and rebellion. I have desire to escape. I have destruction of beauty. I have displacement, empowerment, everlasting love, facing reality. I have faith versus doubt. I have family, blessing or curse. I have female roles. Pretty general one, but it is a very common theme. I don't know, other than the sailors in this film, I don't know that there's other men in this film, other than the sailors that take them there at the very beginning. So, good movie if you ask me. I have fulfillment. That is like a passing theme. I have heartbreak of betrayal. That is like a kind of a theme. But they both kind of feel like they're getting betrayed in the film, so that's kind of that reasoning behind that one. I have loss of innocence. I have love and sacrifice. I have motherhood. I have oppression of women. I have the power of silence. I have the power of tradition. I have the power of words. I have pride and downfall. I have quest for discovery. I have role of women. I have self-awareness. I have self-preservation. I have self-reliance. I have vulnerability of the meek and vulnerability of the strong. And then will to survive. And then I have youth and beauty. Yeah, lots of themes in this movie. Lots and lots of themes. But that's the main ones. The main 15 themes in the movie. Those are kind of more, I guess. I always call these themes, I guess they're kind of just more ideas that are touched upon in the movie, is more what I should call them, but they are still common themes within the movie. Some more common than others, I guess is a better way to say it. But nevertheless, those are the themes. And now it is time to get into my thoughts. And I'll just tell you right off the bat, I really love this movie. I love it a lot. Like a lot. The acting throughout this whole movie is incredible from both actresses that are in the main love storyline. Noemi Merlant and Adele Haenel. I know. In French, H is a vowel and it is silent. So I don't know whether it is I know or Haenel. I don't know. I'm sorry. I should have probably looked up how to pronounce your last name, and that is on me. However, they were both incredible in this movie, and they sold the relationship beautifully. You believe every second of their relationship and their love. This movie has such a good, does such a good job of being able to transport you out of your world and back into the 1770s, because it's the cinematography in this movie is incredible, and I think that it really powers this what is the word, the illusion of disbelief. It allows you to really disappear into the setting, so that was really cool. Really enjoyed that. And the movie is just written beautifully as well, and directed beautifully. I thought the movie was edited beautifully. I just feel like everyone in their roles in this film, and the people that I credited at the top of the pod, they just are all on their A game in this one. I really believe that, because this movie was incredible. It won Best Screenplay at Cannes for a reason. So yeah, I agree. I agree. I would have probably voted for it if I had a vote at Cannes. I know why I don't, but if I had one, it would have gotten mine as well. I have my second note is the shot of the cove with all the water stones as the foreground. I thought that shot was really, really beautiful. Yeah, just this movie kind of hits on all cylinders. So yeah, I have my first thought. I had already told you my second thought. My first thought was you can feel what she feels when the portrait of the lady on fire is first seen. And how she tears up when she says the name of the portrait is like so it's so emotional for her. It's so heartfelt. In a way, it was genuinely hard to watch. But at the same time, how you see the love unfold, you see it as just like a yearning for wishing that things could have been different. And that almost hurts more. It almost hurts more. I wish reality was not the way that it was. I wish these two women could have, driven off into the sunset like Thelma and Louise, but, the way society was back then, kind of still tries to be today, and it will always kind of just always make me sad that the two people who just love each other don't feel like they can do it because of external, like, you know, external viewpoints. It's not fair. But anyways, uh, such a big statement for me to make. I'm such a good person for saying that. Anyway, her diving into the ocean to preserve the whole reason that she was there was a really nice touch to show that, number one, the men didn't respect why she was being taken to that place in the first place. And then that coupled with them not guiding her to the house or like being like, I don't fucking know, go up into the trees. I thought that was, I don't know about, good, but a nice touch, a nice way to set the scene even further. That, men, especially in the 1770s, just thought women were like just there for them. Yeah. We've come a long way. It's not great still, but have we come a long way? And then, yeah, I mean, imagine if she just was like, whatever, I lost it, take me home. And I would never would have this like traumatic love that she'll never be able to like recreate or like have again. But like she said, don't regret, remember. So I'm guessing that's where she's coming from. What the fuck is that? Little gnats. I have my next note saying the mistress was forced into marriage because her sister died premature. I think that's just me helping myself remember the story. That was pretty fucked up. Another reality of 1770s. They can't really be ignored. American arranged marriage. I know it still happens in the world and stuff like that. I'm not ignorant to that fact. Still jarring, nevertheless. As a Westerner that's grown up in the 21st century. So it really sucks. And having it further touched upon later on in the film when they say, like, the sister apologized to, I have her character's name. She apologizes to Heloise because she knows that she's now going to like inherit her burden, so to speak, of like being in that arranged marriage. Really heavy stuff. This movie is very heavy emotions. It makes you feel very, very deeply, no matter how you feel like about the situation, like in general. Makes you feel very deeply, whether or not you want to or not. Yeah, that's all I have for that. My next note says the mistress must have. Okay, this was before I found out why she wouldn't pose for the maybe I shouldn't read this, but it was before I found out that she refused to pose for the first painter. That's before I realized or found out that it was because she didn't want to be married. I probably should have figured that out, but it was before I realized that. So I have this note that says, the mistress must have ungodly riz. They've already had a painter out there to do the portrait, but he couldn't even look at her. I think that was maybe the subtitles were wrong, or maybe like I was just reading it incorrectly because I'm having to read so much. Um, Either way, that's pretty funny. I went back and put parentheses. She was just, she just didn't want to paint. She just didn't want to get painted because she did want to get married, which fair. If I was getting forced into marrying someone, I don't know that I would ever really be cooperative. Like, oh yeah, this guy's here to make your portrait. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, my next note says, I love the visual callback to her telling her students to always watch how the hands were positioned. There's a lot of visual metaphors in this film, and they were all written into the script perfectly. It was all incredible, all of it. I mean, the lady on fire, that there's a few later on that I'll talk about in more in depth, but that was the first one that I really noticed. And then she like scurries off to paint her hands and stuff. Um, I noted the line that I thought that was really one of the lines that I thought was really clever. It was between the mom, who also had a great acting performance in this film. The Countess is talking to Marianne, and she says, Marianne says, I haven't even seen her smile yet. And the Countess says, have you tried being funny? I thought that was really cute. Really cute line. I really enjoy the way that their admiration is shown through facial expression, rather than them being like, I love you so much. That it gets really old. And the way that they're just able to show that they admire one another by just staring longingly at one another was really cool. I thought it was really effective, and it really sold, like I said, they sold being in love very well. So, I mean, I had me hook, line, and sinker. This movie, I'll just be upfront, it made me cry pretty often. Pretty, like, I think three separate times in the movie, I teared up. This movie was really, really, really expressive, and it was dealing with some super, super heavy stuff. Um, just unapologetically and honestly. Um, just just awesome. Just really awesome stuff. Really just approaching life uh from a very while being objective at the same time, giving you just enough subjectivity to have it feel uh just superhuman. I don't know any other way to explain it. It just felt like a superhuman story. And something that believably could have happened. So yeah, just further testament to how well this screenplay was written by Céline Sciamma, and just overall her vision of this whole film. It was incredible. But I digress. And my next note says, ooh, excuse me. Helwa is starting to get the idea that the painter is, Marianne is only there to sweeten Milan. I thought that was really sad that she kept kind of like insinuating that she was only there to make Milan seem sweeter. And it's just those kind of general misunderstandings that sometimes people have in relationships and stuff. Even if you really love somebody, and that could be fueled by jealousy too, and that probably definitely was a part of it, knowing that she's going to be losing this person that she's coming to love. That definitely has to be very difficult to deal with. I don't even understand how I could deal with that. I would be in shambles, basically falling in love with someone, but all the while knowing this person's not going to be my person at the end of the day. Because, I don't think either one of them were looking at it as meaningless hookup or whatever. I think they truly, like, had an endearing relationship with one another. And especially in the 1770s, them having a romantic relationship was an extremely conscious choice. But it's also not surprising given Eloise's comments about how she liked living in a convent because she enjoyed equality for once. So, not completely lost on me that this is not an out of left field situation. And I understand that, history likes to explain away, LGBT history, So this is probably fairly more common. I don't know about a painter traveling to a distant remote island, and falling in love with a woman who's getting shipped off to be a countess in Milan. But nevertheless, still, probably there are still probably sapphic relationships that happen that we all know nothing about just because of the tabooness of having that as like a public relationship at the time. With what the Christian church being the way that it was, and still is in many ways. But nevertheless, moving on to my next comment, I have Hello Oz makes a comment on how equality felt nice in the comment. Just mentioned that. My next comment says the visual metaphor of her heart being on fire for her was really amazing. Trying to remember exactly what that was talking about. I think I'm blanking on this one a little bit. I think there was a certain point where she like drew her with her heart on fire, or she had a dream where her chest caught on fire or something like that. And I thought it was a good metaphor to show like she has a burning love inside. Yeah, that's it. um, yeah, we had to go to the break though. Um, that was a really bad way to end the little section right here. But yeah, I think that was just like a, a way of saying like she had a burning desire in her art. Pretty straightforward metaphor, but I thought it was still really effective. Um, we have to go to break now. I'll be right back. I probably am not going to be here for too much longer. I don't have that many more notes because this movie really speaks for itself. But nevertheless, stick with it, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It was probably been like 2 seconds since I last saw you, but welcome back nevertheless. Um, when we left off, I was talking about the part where I'm guessing someone's heart was on fire. I kind of blanked on it, but um, I kind of remember it. I remember, I remember stopping the movie to write it down, but not really fully aware of what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna move on. I really enjoyed how stoic the mother was in this film. I thought it allowed the movie to really stay entrenched in its femininity while having a like an overly prideful character, but prideful in a way that was not just basically toxic masculinity. Um, Seeing pride be, you know, thrown onto a woman not by, a man's ego, but, a woman's desire for, I guess a family's desire for like further prestige and stuff. That was really interesting. I thought that dynamic was really fun, not fun, since it was devastating. I thought that was a really interesting dynamic to explore. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next note. The scene with Eloise's mother is keen to me because it highlights the undertone that they have love for one another and that they have a desire to stay together as long as possible while also being away for Marianne to show Eloise that she genuinely cares about her. Um, yeah, I'm trying to unpack what I just said there. The scene with Eloise's mother is keen to me because it highlights the undertone. Oh, okay, yeah. So like her trashing the painting basically, you know, is in my opinion, pretty an obvious way of her like showing her that she's like, oh no, I love you. Like, don't think this is how I see you. I was just tasked with doing this. I was just trying to get paid. Please, please, this is not how I see you. Love me, please. But like in the long scheme, grand scheme, um, you know, it's it ended up, breeding their really, really passionate love. But that was really the start of it, where it became like really real. Because I'm pretty sure they like had crushes on each other, from the get when they saw each other, but they didn't really understand the urges. And then like when they had like an act of like, no, I want to stay around. I really like being around you. I think that was the real big turn of like, oh yeah, no, let's see where this goes. And that was like the beginning of it, I think. Um, I Their little playful flirting scenes too was like a really fun way of selling it. Like she tells her to look at her in for the portrait, and she like gets butterflies, and that was cute. I thought that was really cute. Um, and then there's two scenes or a few scenes that made me really gain respect for a lot of it's just something I never even really thought of or never thought to even think of. Um, was the I think it was Marianne was dealing with menstruation, and so they put like hot stones in her area, and that was just jarring. Uh, just jarring. I cannot fucking imagine having to cauterize basically your vagina. I don't know why I laughed saying vagina. Like basically having to cauterize your vagina. That is horrid. That sounds awful. That sounds like the worst possible fucking thing to happen to a person. I could not imagine having to cauterize my dick because it was bleeding and like shedding its line. Yeah. Anyway, then we get to the abortion scenes, where the helper Sophie um is found out that she's pregnant. She doesn't want the baby, and so they have her run up and down the beach. They have her um hang just hang like from a bar. Um, a lot of odd stuff. Just doing really kind of anything they can. Um, Drinking tonics, Yeah, just hard to really watch women having to deal with women problems pre-medicine and pre-modern medicine, and that's that was hard to watch because it's not something I ever really thought about. And yeah, you just kind of gain a new level of respect for the women that lived, especially in that area or era, especially lived in that era. Um, yeah. Whew. Um, there's really long scenes in this movie, but all of the movement within the scenes have a lot of meaning. A lot of them are silent. It's a very silent movie. I don't want to say it's like a silent film, but it's a very quiet movie. Uh, it's it's driven by romantic tension, and then once that tension is released, you feel like it's like, okay, we're done now. Like that's the tension, that's it. But it only kind of builds, and I thought that was really nice because it's how relationships go. It's not just peaches and cream. Once you finally get together, you still have like touch ups and arguments and stuff, and things still happen, and so it's not always the greatest thing to be in a relationship. Sometimes you get in a relationship and you go, oh fuck, my life is worse now. Just kind of happens. So, I thought this movie did a great job of putting a realistic spin on how relationships are, and I mean especially the with the stipulation that has been uh established already in this movie. I think it's just great. And it's great touch again with the writing that it leaves no stone unturned, and checks all its boxes. It sets up all these boxes to check later in the film, and it checks every single one of them. And then it has like bonus checks at the end too. It's really great. Um, so much romantic tension is what my note in here says. My next note says the book reading was a really nice way of storytelling. The story between Orpheus and Eurydice, I thought was really really cool. And how they brought it back, I have that later in my notes. So we'll talk about that. Um, the way they both had an interpretation of what drove the man to cause his death was really really nice. Kind of further establishes how they feel differently about things, but they still love each other. Another real, honest way of looking at two people who love each other. They have different interests. Their moralities are similar, but they don't see everything eye to eye, and that's okay. And they still love each other for it. So that was really cool to see. Um, my next thing says uh, the girl saying that she's still pregnant and then just swigs some wine. I'm gonna go ahead and highly doubt that. I'm gonna go ahead and highly, highly doubt that. But you know, you should probably make sure, just to make sure. Um, then the lady catching on fire during that same bonfire scene. I thought that scene was really, really cool. Um, I'm not exactly. I think in my interpretation of her catching on fire is that was like the breaking point where, you know, their love had like their admiration for one another was so palpable that like it was what's that phrase? It's like a shit. There's a phrase, or it's like fire on something. Let me know in the comments. It's like there's a phrase where it's like these two are like fire on something very flammable. I don't remember, but these two it's a British term. It's like a British phrase, I'm pretty sure. But these two get on like fire on whatever, basically an extremely flammable object, and that's kind of the vibe I was getting from it. Like these two are so attracted to each other, like they just caught on fire, even though she just kind of walked through the bonfire. I thought that was more of what it represented, and I enjoyed the metaphor. I guess it'd be a simile if I'm using like. um, that was stupid. I'm sorry. Uh, I noted this line because I liked it. One of them asks, "You dreamt of me," and the other one says, "No, I thought of you." And I thought that was really sweet. I thought that was a really, really sweet, loving line. Um, Next note I have says having a baby, holding the helper's hand while she's knows that she's, having an abortion is really powerful because like while she knows that she doesn't want the child, she like having that visual representation of the guilt that she's going to inevitably feel um, is really, really, really tough, and that messed me up pretty bad. Um, it had me crying. That was a really powerful scene, and I'm glad that it was done by people who understand the gravity of that situation. That's all I'll say, because that's all it really needs to be said on my part. But I thought I was super, super mature way of approaching all of it, and I thought I was just super hard to watch. I feel like it would be for anyone. I don't think if that's easy for you to watch, then you have like no soul, I think. Um, yeah. Anyways, moving on from that because that is sad. But a very crucial and um, high tension scene for this movie and a very important scene to be in the movie. So, um, nevertheless, moving on from that, using the painting to empower the helper in her moment of vulnerability, by like going and kind of like reinforcing her and showing her that they are on her side, or not on her side, but like that they support her with everything by giving her a painting of a moment where she may feel powerless. They took that as a way to use the painting to empower her. Thought that was really beautiful. Um, and they get high as hell on some flying ointment. Um, and then I really enjoy the doily. When Sophie is finishing the doily of a finished bouquet, and the bouquet is dead, I interpreted that as a callback to the Orpheus and Eurydice story, where uh, I'm pretty sure it's Marianne that comments that the man chose the snapshot of his wife's, like the snapshot of his wife that he had in his head, and like the image of his wife that he had in his head over actually his, like having his wife. He cared so much about, what he had with his wife that he couldn't bear those few more seconds to not look at her. Uh, and it caused her death. And I thought she was calling back. I thought it was a great callback to that from the director, if that's what I was calling back to. If not, if I'm reaching here, you know, disregard this. But that's how I felt when I saw that. Um, she finished painting by painting the ears. That was the first thing that she commented on when she got there. She was staring at her ears because that's all she could really get a snapshot of or get a really good look at. Um, I have the line, "Don't regret, remember." thought that was really, really good. Don't regret, the love that you gave me. Just remember the love that we shared. I absolutely beautiful line. And just beautiful, just a beautiful thought process and way of looking at life. And definitely something that will stick with me. Then the whole 28 page and having the 28th page open while she's getting another portrait done in the hopes that, she's out there and sees it was really cute. I thought that was a really nice touch. And then the movie basically being quiet aside from the dialogue scenes, obviously, where they're talking to each other. And then sorry, still trying to kill this gnat in here. Going from that, and then the ending on that orchestra, the presto. Jeez, it's right in my face. The presto by hold on, it's Presto from Summer in Vivaldi's Four Seasons, which is an incredible song. And I thought just keeping the camera fixated on her for like 2.5 minutes while she's just sobbing to the orchestra, and you don't really see Marianne's reaction to it, because you already know Marianne's reaction to it. Her even thinking about how it was made her really sad. And she comments to one of her students saying like, "Hey, you painted me, but I look really sad in the painting." And she's like, "Well, you were." I thought that was a really funny moment, like a little, like a nice little ironic moment. And then just, yeah, three little thoughts from, about the whole movie in general here. I thought the visual metaphors in this film were absolutely incredible. The cinematography was absolutely incredible. It only did so much more to fuel how good the visual metaphors looked and how well that they were received. And then I genuinely think not really having a score for this movie made kind of more sense. If there is a score, it's super duper subtle and it's like kind of almost hidden. Because I didn't really notice it. It was quiet for most of the film, which is fine because it works. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. And I'm ready to throw a rating on it and get out of here if you guys are. So we're gonna switch over to here. I actually did something seamlessly this time. Holy shit, that was so cool. Okay, so Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I have given a 9.5. So the rest of it had a nice little run up there for, a few weeks. Or sorry, for 1 week now. Sorry guys. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. I'm already screwing this up though. So let me I'll do this in post, but I'll do this after the show actually. So that was A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, a movie that I absolutely love. And yeah, so I think that's it for this episode. If you enjoy this episode, please throw us a like, subscribe to us. Yesterday if you're watching this, today is Monday the 5th, right? Today is the 2nd, tomorrow's the 3rd, Sunday is the 4th. Yep, so Monday the 5th. Yesterday we came out with a audio only podcast that features my dad and his longtime friend since high school. So almost a friendship of 30 years, just about. Or maybe it is. I gotta clear that up, but I'm pretty sure they've been friends for almost 30 years. It's basically my godfather. But Greg and Jeff giving the hi-hat, the long-awaited release of this podcast. These guys, I mean, it took me a lot of money to get them out of the house. Or I guess they're not really getting out of the house. They're kind of just calling each other and being on this podcast. So, not really leaving the house, but still doing it nevertheless. Go give that a listen. It's really funny. I'm producing it, so I have to listen to it. So I can tell you with confidence that it's funny. Me and Trevor are working on something we got something in the cards. Nothing is official yet. I think we're gonna do maybe a test episode here soon. Maybe. I don't know. I think we are. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on over here at the Q Crew Productions. So just stick with us, and we are going to be coming out with a lot more stuff coming up here soon. This will still be every Monday. FNF will be every Friday. Got to figure out who we're having on this Friday, but I got a few days to do that. So just stick with us. It'll give you time, if you missed one of the episodes, to go back and watch them. So go do that. Next week on this podcast, I can tell you what's next Monday. We're going to be watching The Great Dictator from 1940. That should be really interesting. I've never seen a movie from the 40s before. I've seen Cholwinger Men, which is from 1957, but I've never seen a film from the 40s. This film is from 1940. It stars Charlie Chaplin as a guy he's two people in the movie. He's a Jewish baker and a caricature of Adolf Hitler. Learned about this movie watching Chaplin, and I'm just really interested. It's one of his 3 talkies, and it was really successful, and I'm really baffled why he just didn't care for the talkie. But nevertheless, we're going to be doing that next week, so tune in for that. Go follow us on Instagram at the Q Crew. Go follow Finding New Films on Instagram. Go follow me on Instagram. Go follow anybody that you like from the Q Crew on Instagram. We're mainly an Instagram people, so that's where you're going to find us. That's it, though. So I'll see you guys this Friday. I'll see you next week. Go watch Greg and Jeff. Give him the hi-hat. Yeah. Bye, everybody.